Hey, yo, what's up guys? So welcome back to another YouTube tutorial, and today we'll be taking a look at how to compose your images instead of how to edit them, because in order to edit a nice image, you need to be able to compose and shoot your perfect and ideal images. So today we are outside and I'm gonna be showing you how I normally compose my images, and we'll be focusing on one of the tools that I use, which is leading lines. So for those of you that are familiar with my works on Instagram, you are very familiar with understanding that I like to shoot my architecture photos with a lot of symmetry, a lot of lines involving them. So today I just thought of showing you guys the thought process of what I usually look out for when I'm on location, and how I usually go through shooting my images. So before, I want to show you what I usually do in the camera, just to give you guys a brief understanding of what leading lines are. So there are actually two types of leading lines. There are implied lines and there are actual lines. So today, for the sake of today's tutorial, we're just going to be focusing on actual lines. Alright, so this location is a pretty basic location for you guys that are beginners out there to understand easily what leading lines are. So why would you want to use leading lines? Leading lines act as guides for you to direct your viewers' eyes when they look at your image into where you want them to look at. So for example, this image. Okay, I'm just going to go into live view on my camera right here. So let's just say I'm going to compose my image this way, right? And we're not going to focus on the camera settings or anything like that. We're just only going to focus on how to mainly compose the image. So right now I'm shooting on an APS-C camera, and I'm using a 16mm. So this is super wide, and I just want to describe to you what the lines are, or what in this image the leading lines are. So we have a water pipe at the bottom, we have all these railings and concrete slabs here, and they're all lines leading from the sides of the image all the way down to the center. So you can also zoom in if you like, and this would still retain the same lines. I wouldn't say this is a leading line because it's sort of like intersecting. In this image, I would say that I would like the viewers to view the subject all the way on the other side of the image. But obviously in this particular location, there's nothing in particular that I would say is the center of attraction, but it's still kind of aesthetic. And if you would want to step it up, or to step your composition up, I would say maybe you could place someone down there wearing a color that would strike out. So for me, I like to go with a lot of yellow and orange during my compositions of photos. So having maybe like someone in a red dress or an orange dress on the opposite side would be pretty interesting. So let's take a look again how that would look like. So just checking the focus. Okay, everything looks good. We're not going to go through a lot about how to use your settings. Maybe in another tutorial I'll be focusing on what kind of settings you use in what kind of locations, but checking the exposure, everything looks perfect as it is. So we're just going to take the shot. So a little tip I can give you guys is, when you're trying to compose your image, how to make sure that your photos are straight. You can use these pipes and the guides along here to sort of just align the shot, making sure that everything is aligned, and then you can take your shot there. There you go. Alright, so we're just going to review what we just done previously and how we composed this image. So when we started, I made sure that all the lines are straight, and using the grid to align this pole vertically, so making sure that everything is composed nicely and straight. When you're shooting images with lines and you're using a wide angle, you want to take note not to bend your camera down too much or too much upwards, because when you're using wide angles, there's a lot of barrel distortion and it will make your lines look a little bit warpy. So that's something that you want to take note of. But other than that, I want to say that the image is quite nice in my opinion, because you have a balance of darks and whites, and the sunlight is coming in from the top, maintaining a bit of contrast on the shadows over here at the bottom. So overall, in terms of dynamic range, the image looks perfectly fine. And for those of you that are beginners that have trouble, sort of like composing your images, this is something that you can take note of when you're out shooting. So for me, when I'm at a location, let's just say I see something that's beautiful and I know that, okay, this is something that I want to shoot, but I don't exactly know how I want to compose it. So for me personally, what I do is I would go down the list of the normal compositional techniques that I use. So for example, like leading lines, like we mentioned today, using symmetry, and maybe using the rule of thirds. So don't worry, I'll be focusing much more in depth for these other compositional techniques in other videos, but today we'll be focusing mainly on actual leading lines. So are you able to only use straight leading lines to compose your images? We will move on to the next location and I'll show you guys how to use leading lines in your images that are not exactly straight. Okay, so now we are at our second location, the Hive, and I wanted to demonstrate to you guys in this location that when you're using leading lines, you don't exactly always have to use straight lines. You can also use curved lines. So taking a look around the compound, it's made out of a lot of interesting shapes and lines. And this railing, for example, is one that is sort of curved. And if the camera can come closer to me, I'm going to show you guys how I would compose this image. Okay, I'm going to go into live view. So let's just say I'm pointing the camera this way. And I want to say that in an ideal situation, if I had one more person, I would sort of put the person here, standing right here. And the reason being is that we can see that this railing acts as a leading line which comes from the bottom right corner and it leads your eyes all the way to around here. And if you want to make it more interesting, you can put your character or your subject on the third of the frame. So just using rule of thirds. And it's also another compositional technique that maybe I would emphasize in another video. But let's just go ahead and take this photo and review it afterwards. Okay, so now taking a look at the image that we just shot and I'm about to review it. As you can see there, I want to say like in this particular image, it's quite complex. It's not as simple as our previous one, but with a little bit of post-processing, you can maybe make this part darker and emphasize that the brighter point is here. And this is also on the third, which makes the composition look a little bit more interesting. So the thing that we want to focus on right now is to understand how this is a leading line. So like we mentioned just now, it starts from the right and it leads your eyes all the way to the corner there. In an ideal situation, I would probably have someone there. But apart from that, we also have another leading line from the top, which also directs your eyes to around the same area. So I want to say this image has not only one, but two leading lines. And if you guys can figure out if there are other leading lines within this image, let me know in the comment section down below and I'll be interested to see what your thoughts are. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something from today. And before I close the video, I just wanted to point something out. Of all the years that I've studied at the Hive, right? I mean, studied in NTU and came here to shoot, I don't think I've ever seen it this empty before. It's kind of eerie actually. I'm not sure if it's because of the pandemic or if it's because of the school holidays, but if you're ever looking to shoot the Hive empty, I think now is a better time than any. So also, if you're noticing that I'm doing like this really interesting voyeuristic shot, it's because I'm using a wireless lavalier mic which is connected to a receiver on the camera, which I was sent by Holyland to review. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you're interested to see more of these kinds of tutorials where I sort of bring the camera outside and show you guys how to compose your images other than just editing them, make sure you let me know in the comment section down below. And also make sure you smash that like and subscribe button so you receive notifications of when I post more similar videos to this. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this Ryan Mamba perspective, and I'll see you guys in the next one.